afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Escape from East China. My name is Bindi.
Good afternoon. My name is True007.
Today we have a young man from Himalaya, Australia. His name is Freego. He left China 9 years ago to study bachelor degree in marketing. He then went on to study masters in accounting for the purpose of immigration. Now he's an Australian and he has been in the finance field ever since. So we want to ask Freego a few questions. So let's just have a look at the two videos that we have prepared, and then we're going to ask Freego some questions.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Freego. Welcome to Himalaya, Australia. I'm very honored to join this program. And this is my first time to doing the English live broadcasting. And that's all. Thank you. Back to you, Bindi.
Okay, let's have a look at Director Flower, our director, who is very skilled, I would say. Let's have a look at the videos, please.
我抱这些孩子，我是让你们知道什么？这些孩子所得到的财富，全是建立在无穷无尽的洋甘蓝的这些被砍头的孩子的生命之上的。你想想，洋甘蓝的那几个被砍头的，被他妈把头砍掉的孩子，你觉得这些人的孩子得到这样的荣誉和待遇，他不是欺压在我们14亿中国人头上的吗？他们所有的得到是建立在无数个孩子的鲜血和家庭的破烂的痛苦之上的。你要是有起码的人性，人性是不分高低、不分老少、不分男女的。
8月15日，山东菏泽，老人为老伴花光所有积蓄，经医院同意后，他用板车接瘫痪老伴回家。看到这里，你还会同情那些盗国贼白手套的子女们吗？中国人被打被杀，谁得到了最大的利益呢？这些人本应付出同等的代价，而不是享有奢华的私人飞机、万亿财富、后宫无数，按需杀人。如果这时候还谈论什么同情，什么孩子是无辜的，那真就活该被虐杀。这不仅是一种认知上的无知，更是精神上的疾病。这满嘴的仁义道德，却默许着恶魔残害国人，远比恶魔本身更可恨。
就是中国这种愚昧无知，才让共产党在中国骗赢了100年。这个世界上最可怕的就是给自己的懦弱无知找理由，助纣为虐。共产党，你完了！
光阴就像那流水，生活然碌碌无味，时光不觉已浪费，这又来怪谁？谁会关心笑脸背后藏着的狼狈？有多少身不由己，真的好疲惫。我醉过多少回，我流过多少泪，前路怎么后退，又怎么去后悔？我说过多少回。
What we have seen, the first video actually, Malscore described how the CCP kleptocrats, they plunder the country, they provide the very, very best to their own kids, all at the expense of the Chinese population. In the second video, you can see a young man. He's just a young man. He was so poor that he actually brought his own food to a noodle shop, only ordered soup. Okay, only the soup base, dipped the bread that he brought from home, and brought his own cake and celebrated his own birthday that way. And the waitress saw what happened and gifted him a bowl of noodles for good luck, for good long life. And that's the reality of China today. You have a vast gap between the kleptocrats, the extreme end, and you have the ordinary people on the other end. So the other end, you don't see much in the Western world, only because of media control. Maybe you can see some on the social media, but a lot of people, because they don't see all this poverty on mass media, they think that, social media cannot be trusted. I want to ask Freego, you yourself, my understanding is that you don't come from a rich family. and you actually come from a pretty ordinary family because of your parents' sacrifices. They sent you overseas to study and for you to give you a new life, actually, a life in Australia, which is vastly different if you had been in China. I want to ask your opinion. What do you think of the CCP kleptocrat of the second generation, Zheng Wei and Jiang Mei, buying a house overlooking Sydney Opera Harbour and then gutted the whole mansion to rebuild, and their children, the third generation, living in Australia, enjoying fresh air, playing with kangaroos? What do you think?
Okay,
Over
thanks.
to you, Freego.
Yes, thanks, Bindi. So, firstly, the only individual who have ever openly shared image of Zhen's family online are whistleblower movement and my school. So this is demonstrate the whistleblower movement powers. So according to current circumstances, this is also appropriate time to disclose them. So and you play the videos which shows the gap between the ordinary people and the CCP kleptocrats. So I think that videos mentions a poorest like people living in China. Let me remember the young Lan, the tragedy taking place in the northwest village in communist China is still engraved in people's memory. So despite young Lan kill her own children and commit suicide by drinking pesticide. So if someone is worried about the privacy of kleptocrats' children, then who will seek the justice for the tragic deaths of young Lan's children? So in the China now is economic is generally declines. Furthermore, unfinished buildings like the banks run out of monies, recessions, lockdown people at home by zero COVID mindset, etc., etc. So in China today is more like a big tragedies. So the CCP, they are using COVID vaccine in order to kill the Chinese people as much as they can. The CCP does not want to reap the consequence from a financial collapse. So in my opinion, I think the best way to help the children of these kleptocrats is to tell them that they do not deserve to enjoy the wealth that does not belong to them in the first place. So the children should be educated about the most basic humanities. So for all the whistleblowers, if we stay in silence about where the wealth comes from, so they are most likely to continue doing what they did before. So that's my thought. That's my thought.
Yes.
Back to you.
Yes, just like Zheng Wei, isn't it? Zheng Wei is second generation, so he was also born into a kleptocrat family, and he was raised to be, another kleptocrat, right? So that's why you have another two teenagers in Australia. Now, these two teenagers, according to Mount Score, they are at the risk of being abducted back to China by Xi Jinping. Do you think they should, Australia should turn a blind eye to them being abducted back to China? In exchange for, say, make them into a tool of negotiation. Maybe Australia turn a blind eye to the abduction, and in exchange for the exporters, Australian exporters, sanction being lifted. What do you think?
Thank you, Bindi. It's pretty interesting question. So, Miles pointed out that the law may be definitive punishment and sentencing based on the age of the predictors of murder and stealing money. So, however, the predictors of crimes, there are no age distinctions. The children who are recently identified by whistleblower movements may be innocent, but whilst they currently enjoying the tragedy of Polish people in communist China. So personally, that deal, I don't hope that deal is happen, because Australia is a country, not a backyard of communist China. If Australia government agree to send back Zen's grandchildren to China, maybe next time the same thing will be happen on our photo fighters who are currently living in Australia. So I don't hope that things happen. But now, we can look very carefully for the relationship between China and Australia, if Australia has taken some advantages from China, such as sending some trade deals, the one deals, etc., which means that might be Xi Jinping and Australia could make a deal. Then grandchildren will send back to China. But according to my school broadcasted in yesterday's, that things will happen in 100%. So that's my thought. Thanks.
Say it again. Nothing will happen.
That things means the Australia will send back Zen's grandchildren to China. Yeah, it's according to the broadcast my school from yesterday.
Okay, I missed that. So
You missed that?
Moscow
Yeah.
thinks that definitely the children will be sent back. Is
Yeah,
that right?
definitely. Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, and we can continue to watch the broadcasting tonight.
What do you think, 007? Your mic is off. 007.
Hello, Freego, Bindi. And to answer your question, what Malscore said this morning, I reviewed again. Definitely, Malscore said it will happen. Okay, the Australian government will definitely turn a blind eye when the CCP's overseas, okay, law enforcement agency will confiscate the kids, okay,
Abduct, yeah.
grandkids, and adopt them back to China with the private jet and stuff like that. So this raises two questions. I mean, are we still like being BGI'd by CCP very deeply? Number one. Number two, how the international relationships rule should be between two countries when the dictatorship is number one dictatorship, okay, requested that to hijack the number two dictatorship's grandchildren to be a hostage for the political gain, would that be allowed to kowtow to them? If they don't kowtow to them, then Xi Jinping will definitely threatens, we're gonna stop, okay, buying you iron ore, buying you this, that, the resources. I think that's what happens. So Australian government is too afraid probably to offend Xi Jinping in that regard. But that's in one side only, okay? But we don't know what's behind the curtain, okay? We never know that what we have known publicly is what is in the news. But what really went behind the news, behind the doors, we don't know. So maybe for the whistleblowers movement to terminate the CCP, it's a good thing that they go let them to go back to China, so they're gonna be fighting like a bloodshed. Okay, it's a life and death between Xi Jinping and Deng Xiaoping then, and then whichever side lose or win, it's gonna be a win for whistleblowers.
For us, yes.
Yeah. So either way, we do want that to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
We do want that to happen. That's as Mao Zedong said. Anything is gonna take down the CCP, we do it. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So we will watch that page. Let us move on to the next video. Flower, can we have the next video, please?
光阴就像那流水。
It is quite a relief and quite a welcome initiative. Everybody has reaffirmed that we do support the One China policy.
For China to be assisting Africa in closing the gap and making African countries more self-reliant is a huge selfless effort on the part of China and its people, and we highly appreciate that effort.
抖音
Now we have moved on to the topic, which is the forte of Freego, the financial side of things. So we have heard from Mount Square, U.S. Treasury bond held by China is at the lowest ever, at $1 trillion. I'm just going to cough.
Okay, so we continue. We just have heard from Miles Gore that in the last couple of days, the CCP has continually been reducing its treasury bond, okay, U.S. treasury bond, and they continue to drop it now to the point of $1 trillion US, and this very soon will be below that. So I wonder that what do you think, Freego? What do you thought on the consequences of that? Do you have any opinion? Please share with us. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, 007. So firstly, the short definition for U.S. bond. So U.S. bond is actually a national public debt issued by U.S. Treasury on behalf of the federal government. So like a bonds in the markets, it's like the investment products that bought with an income and return. So U.S. bonds have long been considered as a low interest rate, low risk, and guaranteed return treasury products, and they are sought after investors worldwide as a safe harbor for investment. So once China sells the U.S. debt, it's likely that the other overseas holders of U.S. debt around the world will sell off one after another, with U.S. interest rates and U.S. Treasury price being most affected. So the spec in U.S. bond, yes, has led to high yields, a new U.S. debt, affecting financial stability. So finally, in my opinion, so if the China selling U.S. bond, economic situation of both countries towards and other countries tend to be deteriorated. So that's my thought. So back to you, 007. Thank you.
So the other thing that, as we have seen, is China has actually forgiven the debts of 17 African countries, 23 loans. So that is actually quite a lot of a huge debt forgiveness. Before, people criticize them about going around debt trap diplomacy. Now, not only they've forgiven the debt, they have also given food assistance. While China is at the risk of a food crisis, they are helping the African countries. So that is, of course, for the purpose of forming a basket of currency buying alliances led by renminbi. How do you see that? How do you see that with this? Still, Mao Squaw said that eventually our renminbi is going to be worthless. So surely when you have a basket of currency with an alliance, a group of people, at least 17 African countries, plus the axis of all evils, all the Russia, North Korea, Pakistan, and Iran, all these countries, and India, the country that has no own idea, joining in this basket of currency, how does that make renminbi worthless? Can you educate us on that, please?
Okay, thank you, Bindi. I think the world, most of countries saw Chinese insist on forming basket of currency led by RMB. So it feels very strange. But the reason why they're doing this is they try to de-dollarize and hit US economy as well. So as we know from my school broadcasting, the One Belt and One Road plan will make many small countries bankrupt. So why CCP implement the One Belt and One Road plans? And that's the reason why they show in the video as well. The reason behind this, those countries, they are mainly using US dollar for tradings, not their domestic currency. So this means if they run out of the US dollar, they will go bankrupt because no one will accept their domestic countries. So for example, as we all know, the Sri Lankans bankrupt due to the shortage of electricity, oils, and other resources. So if other countries allow to Sri Lanka to using their domestic currency to buy the food and other resources, the Sri Lankan won't bankrupt at all. But the reason they cannot do this, because Sri Lanka run out of the US dollar because the CCPs, using the One Belt One Road, and CCP has the debit traps So that's the reason why CCP insists on to implement the One Belt, One Road plans. They want to make more countries bankrupt. So finally, more and more countries are accepting and using the RMB as the basket of the currency because they did not have enough US dollars. So they have no choice. So they need to using RMB as the basket of the currency. And favor countries are using US dollar for international readings. So finally, the US dollar and United States become awakened. That's the reason why they are doing this. And that's my thought. Thanks.
So does that mean that renminbi is going to be welcome? We're going to be surviving for some time to come?
Well, I don't think so because China plan print the renminbi with no limited. So I think the Moscow used to say the renminbi will be disappear finally. So renminbi is no future. So
okay,
that's my thought.
007, do you want to add to that, please? Can't hear you.
Regarding to the one basket of RMB with these countries, Moscow mentioned like Russia, North Korea, and Iran, Iraq, and Takao, and so on. Well, there are a bunch of countries. Remember, they don't like the U.S. sanctions in the trade traditionally. They don't like the U.S. The U.S. dollars, U.S. Oil, U.S. petroleum dollar. That idea has been hijacking them for a long time. I think they want the economical freedom. Fair enough. Every nation wants that. So I can't see that. I can see the logic behind it. But when the CCP is involved with all that, then you're not very sure. We know that CCP are there. They're never there for the nation, for the people. They're there just for the dictatorship. Like Xi Jinping's family, just 6 families. Every current government, current situation. When given the nature of the gangsters' nature, they could do anything to threaten any country's sovereignty and deal with them. So I think if they develop their own trade, don't use RMB or digital RMB, at the beginning it might looks okay, but I think in the long run, you see many countries will start to ask questions. There's a lot of unfair deals. And they may have to sell the nations in order to really get a little bit BGY money for the other dictators. So there will be small dictators, other big dictators, and then I think some of them are more slavers than others. And then and plus the US won't let them doing that. So they're going to use the US dollar power, give them the US dollars money, give them quota. So very soon, I think that union is going to be dispensed by the work of the FBI and CIA in the future. That's my opinion. One last one. What do you think? Freego.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I think most of the countries, which is dictator countries, they want the financial freedom. They don't want to United States using the US dollar to sanction them. So they want to use their own currency to make payments, or maybe might be using the currency from another dictatorship countries like the Russian and China as well. So that's my thought. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we come to the consensus on that for sure. So when there's no rule of law, then there's going to be a chaos. I think at this moment, there maybe looks united against the US dollars, the long arm administration. But however, once they start, trading, and they found that some countries are more like, more free. All the pigs supposed to be equal, but some pigs are more equal than others.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Okay, what about the delisting of Chinese concept stock? So apparently that is the Chinese concept stock is just a tool for the a few of the kleptocrats families to launder money. So Xi Jinping does not care about delisting of Chinese concept stock. So tell us what is the impact of this delisting? Freego.
Okay, thank you, Bindi. I think the first is Hong Kong. Yeah, because the CCP using the delisting Chinese concept stock and barely to supporting and Hong Kong stock markets, which will lead accredited clubs of the world economies. And the 60th economy will be clubs and might be after the 20th National Congress. And I think also might point out that in the live broadcasting in the mid-March of this year, and the Hang Seng Index remain above 20,000 points, which is based on Hong Kong to be linked to the Western world, such as United States. So I think the delisting and it might be help the Xi Jinping to return some US dollar to support the I think might be Hong Kong stock markets. So this is the first reason. So beside that, the Chinese concept stock, which is a tool to use by CCP to plunder the world wealth and launch the unrestricted economic war, because it's a lot of investors are Americans. So I think now my school in the lab broadcasting, he mentioned the ADR, which also the another tools, American depository receipts, is another way to raise the capital by finding counterparties in the US with investment banking license and banking license to issue share within US. So ADR has become the frequent method for many Chinese or foreign companies that cannot get listed in US or wanted to speed up to listing to financing in the US, but having difficulty to get approval. So this is another weapon used by CCP for the delisting. So that's my thought. Thank you.
007, do you have something else to add?
Well, you remember Miles Gore, when talk about this, Miles Gore given a few examples of balls. There's one is this, ball, then there's a shit ball, then there's a fireball, there's a rock ball. And when the balls start to blow off, then this whole chain of balls start from, for example, first, okay, when they pack the asset listed, they basically liquidate, okay, the asset become cash. So CCP already cashed in the pocket. And the second guy, the banks who guaranteed that, okay, then they're gonna have leverages, okay, the leverage, and then they sold to other funds managers and so on. So that become a shitball, okay. And then the fund manager using that, okay, to raise the equities funds from different specific funds, such as pension funds, okay, retires, military funds, and the teachers union funds and so on. So every mom and dad's money actually been sucked in, and holding a share of those things, which was worth nothing. So now the whole process need to be reversed. You know, when you're trying to reverse the different stories. So do you think the CCP, once they listed, cashed in, they're gonna give you the money? I mean, I don't know the agreement. I'm sure there's a way. The other third-party banks are guarantee involved. So if CCP says, sorry, I don't have the money, so I'm in China. What do you want to do? I'm not subject to U.S. SEC's long arm administration. That's why we did the deal so I can get the money. You guys get commission already, okay? Much better commission than otherwise. So, in the end of the day, is the people who actually, in that last end, the shit board that give them raise the money is the US, the Wall Street funds, and then the mom and dads ultimately will pay for that. I don't know what's going to happen. There might be a war, okay, but maybe not. You can't see. Wall Street never worked for the mom and dad in the United States. Okay, that's like the same like in my super self-managed super initiative fund. I give to the one of the fund manager. I mean, after almost 20 years, I lost a quarter of my equity. I did never get 1 cent dividend. While they called China Growth Fund. I mean, they found it has gone up so much. So there's always a secret deal going on, and I'm too small as an individual to even chase my accountant who recommended the deal, and haven't. So I just have to bear. I was writing off anyway, so I'm not going to rely on that. But anyway, it was my hard-earned money, pay taxes before I did the investment. So yeah. So that's the situation. Okay, it's gone.
Yes.
Someone.
Okay, our time has come to an end. I hope that everyone has enjoyed the show, and I hope that Freego, you have enjoyed your experience coming onto this show, and to speak on things that you are most passionate about, finance. We'd like to have you back in the future to talk about a few other things, to unpack so much information that Malsco has dished out to us. A lot of times he tells us the beginning and the end, and it's the middle bit that we need to have quite a little bit of explanation, especially to people like me, who is not so financially literate. Thank you so much. 007, you want to conclude the show?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed our escape from Xishan. Thank you, Freego. We'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Bindi. Thank you, 007. Thank you, Flower. Thank you all. Bye.
一声笑，滔滔烈公潮。